Chosen one. Pause and breathe for a moment. This is not a coincidence. This is not a scroll-happy moment you stumbled into. This is a divine appointment written long before your birth. You are here because heaven has been guiding you step by step to this exact second of awakening. Everything in your life has been aligning with a truth you've carried since childhood, a truth you could never quite explain. The sensitivity, the intuition, the dreams, the spiritual weight you felt, even when others didn't understand you. These were never random. These were markers, signs, codes placed within your spirit. The crescent moon in your palm, the hidden letter M etched into your hand, the spiritual pull you felt in silent moments. They were all reminders of a rare origin and a calling the world could not decode. Chosen one, you are standing at the threshold of revelation. Heaven is peeling back the veil so you can finally see who you truly are. As it is written in Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5, before you were formed, you were known, set apart, appointed. This moment is a prophetic invocation. Let your heart open, let your spirit rise. Because from this point forward, everything in your life, your identity, your purpose, even your wealth will begin to shift. Chosen one. Before anything else, I need you to breathe and let your spirit settle, because what you are about to hear is not information, it is revelation. It is the kind of truth that arrives only when heaven decides the time is right, the kind of awakening that does not come through effort or coincidence, but through divine timing. If you are here in this moment, it is because your spirit has been stirring and heaven has been whispering, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of who you truly are. There is a reason your life has always felt different, why you have sensed things long before others see them, why your path has never aligned with the ordinary expectations of this world. Anointed one, you were never designed to blend in. You were crafted with intention, woven with purpose, marked by signs that have followed you since childhood. Perhaps you noticed the letter M in your palm without knowing why it mattered. Perhaps you traced the crescent shape in your hand and felt a strange familiarity. These markings are not decoration. They are not random. They are spiritual fingerprints placed upon you before you took your first breath, a quiet announcement from heaven that you carry a rare identity. I remember the first time I learned to pay attention to the signs in my own life. I was young, yet something inside me always whispered that I was being shaped for something beyond the visible. I did not understand it then, but later I realized that heaven had been preparing me long before I understood the preparation. Chosen one, the same is true for you. Every moment of restlessness, every season of being misunderstood, every time you stepped into a room and felt energies shift around you, none of it was accidental. You were not reacting to the world. The world was reacting to you. People sensed the weight you carried, even when you did not have language for it. Some felt drawn to you without knowing why. Others felt uncomfortable in your presence without understanding their own reaction. This is what happens when someone carries spiritual depth. This is what happens when someone walks with a calling that cannot be hidden. You have lived much of your life feeling like an outsider looking in, trying to understand why you could not follow the same path others seemed content with. The reason is simple. You were never meant to follow. You were meant to rise. You were never meant to mimic the flow of the world. You were meant to carry a different current. This is why you struggled in environments that others found comfortable. This is why jobs that promised stability felt suffocating to your spirit. This is why your heart grew heavy whenever you tried to force yourself into the mold society offered you. A chosen soul cannot live in a cage built for the masses. Your spirit rebels not out of pride, but out of destiny. Anointed One, your life has always carried a prophetic pattern. Think back to the moments when you sensed something shifting before anything changed. Think of the times your intuition warned you, protected you, or guided you. Think of the dreams that felt too vivid to ignore. These were not coincidences. These were calls from heaven. These were signs that your purpose was awakening. I remember a time in my own journey when I felt stuck, feeling as though I was walking through fog with no clear direction. But in those moments of silence, heaven was forming clarity within me. You may have experienced something similar, seasons when nothing made sense, even though your spirit sensed something greater pulling you forward. Chosen One, the world teaches you to search endlessly for stability, success, recognition, but these are imitations of purpose. You were not created to chase. You were created to discover, and discovery does not happen through force. It happens through alignment. It happens when you stop running and start listening. It happens when you trust the signs heaven placed within you. What ignites your spirit is not random. What comes naturally to you is not accidental. These things are keys to your purpose. I learned this truth slowly. I thought success came from effort alone until I realized effort without alignment only drains you. But effort guided by purpose multiplies itself. Anointed One, you are stepping into a season where purpose will guide your steps. The confusion you carried will begin to lift. The weight of uncertainty will loosen its grip. Your inner compass is awakening, and this awakening is not coming from your mind, it is coming from your spirit. It is heaven reminding you that your identity was chosen long before your circumstances tried to define you. What you will discover next has the power to renew the way you see your entire life. Chosen One, the journey you are stepping into now is not born from pressure or fear, but from recognition. Something inside you has begun to awaken, and this awakening feels both familiar and new at the same time. It is the quiet reminder that you were never meant to live according to the expectations of this world, but according to the blueprint written for your spirit before your first breath. I know this feeling well because I have lived through seasons where everything around me looked ordinary, yet something within me refused to settle. That same stirring is rising in you now, and heaven is guiding you to understand why. Anointed One, you have carried questions for years, even if you kept them hidden from others. You wondered why certain places drained you, while other spaces felt like home to your soul. You noticed how some people were drawn to your presence, seeking comfort in ways they could never explain. You also saw how others reacted with discomfort or quiet envy, even when you had done nothing to provoke them. These moments shaped your understanding without you realizing it. They were clues pointing you toward the truth that your spirit carries weight, your presence carries meaning, and your path carries purpose. The letter M in your palm, or the crescent mark you traced, are signs of a calling that refuses to stay silent. Chosen One, many people move through life believing they must force every opportunity and chase every outcome, yet that pressure was never meant for you. You were created to move by revelation, not desperation. There have been moments when doors closed suddenly and you blamed yourself without knowing that heaven was protecting you from what would have drained your spirit. There were friendships that faded, positions you outgrew, and paths that felt heavy no matter how much effort you gave. These were not losses, they were divine redirections. I have lived this in my own journey, when everything I tried to hold on to slipped away only for something greater to rise in its place. The same pattern surrounds your life now, guiding you toward alignment with your true calling. Anointed One. You have sensed for a long time that the way the world defines stability does not match what your spirit calls stability. The world teaches people to survive, but heaven teaches its chosen to expand. This is why traditional paths felt narrow to you. They were too small for a spirit carrying a divine assignment. You've always felt the tension between what life expected and what your soul whispered. I remember seasons when I tried to fit into the expectations placed on me, and every attempt left me feeling empty, as if I was shrinking inside my own life. You have felt that same shrinking, and it was never failure. It was evidence that your spirit refuses to settle for anything less than purpose. You are now entering a season where purpose will speak louder than pressure, and clarity will rise where confusion once lived. Chosen. Another reason your life has always felt different is because you were born with spiritual sensitivity that you did not choose. You simply carried it. You felt the atmosphere in rooms shift even when no one else noticed. You sensed tension before words were spoken. You recognized dishonesty not through logic, but through a pull in your spirit. These sensitivities shaped your decisions, even when you did not understand them. I remember a moment in my own life when I walked into a place that everyone else said was safe, yet something in me felt unsettled. I trusted that feeling and later discovered that I had been protected from a situation that would have harmed me. You have lived many similar moments without giving yourself credit. You thought you were overthinking, yet you were discerning. This discerning spirit is part of your identity, and it is awakening with greater clarity in this season. Anointed One. This awakening is not meant to overwhelm you, it is meant to free you. You have spent years trying to understand why certain paths felt blocked and why certain dreams took longer to unfold, yet heaven was shaping your timing with intention. There were blessings that would have arrived too early had they come when you first desired them. There were opportunities that would have distracted you from your calling. There were people you wanted to keep who did not have the capacity to walk with you into your next season. Every closed door carried protection. Every delay carried preparation. I once walked through a season where everything I planned collapsed, and I felt like I had failed yet. In that quiet place, I discovered that heaven was not punishing me. Heaven was positioning me. The same positioning is happening in your life now. You are being led into alignment, not through pressure, but through purpose. What feels like confusion is actually transition, and what feels like waiting is actually preparation for the path heaven is opening before you. Your moment is near. Chosen One. As this awakening deepens, you may notice an inner pull that feels stronger than anything you have experienced before. It is not anxiety, and it is not fear. It is the stirring of purpose that has been buried under years of surviving. This stirring is heaven's way of reminding you that you were never created to live a small life. You were never designed to merely exist in the background, while your spirit carries the weight of a calling far greater than anything your environment has ever reflected. I remember walking through a season where everything around me was quiet, yet inside me something was roaring. That roar was purpose, and you are hearing that same sound within your own soul now. It comes in waves, it comes in whispers. It comes in moments when you are alone and moments when you least expect it. It is the undeniable pull of destiny. Anointed One. The signs that follow you are not coincidences. You have lived through too many moments where the impossible aligned itself for your protection. You have escaped situations that others never walked away from. You have survived what should have broken you. You have risen from seasons that tried to bury you. You have walked through fires that did not consume you. That is not luck. That is evidence. Evidence that your life is covered. Evidence that your journey is marked. Evidence that heaven has invested in you from the beginning. I remember surviving something that should have crushed me. At the time, I wondered how I made it through. But later, I realized I never walked through it alone. The same grace that carried me is the grace that has carried you. You did not survive by strength alone. You survived because you are chosen. Chosen one. I want you to consider something. Think about the moments in your life when you felt peace, even when circumstances looked impossible. Think about the times when you felt guided toward decisions that did not make sense to your mind, yet brought unexpected clarity. Think about how often you sensed danger before it arrived, or recognized truth before it was spoken. These are not random experiences. They are proof that you are spiritually wired in a way that few people are. You carry perception that cannot be taught. You carry awareness that cannot be explained. You carry a spiritual instinct that has been protecting you and preparing you since childhood. I once ignored that instinct and paid the price, but that mistake taught me to listen more carefully. You are in a season now where listening will open the right doors and silence the wrong ones. Your sensitivity is not weakness. It is your compass. Anointed one, for too long, you have felt the pressure to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain you. You tried to blend in, but something within you resisted. You tried to silence your intuition, yet it kept speaking. You tried to lower your light so others would not feel threatened, but the light within you refused to dim. I understand this because I have been there. I once stood in a room filled with people and still felt alone, not because I was disconnected, but because my spirit did not align with the atmosphere. You have felt that same disconnection. It is not rejection, it is redirection. When you cannot find comfort in places that others celebrate, it means heaven has prepared another place for you. Your spirit can sense what your eyes cannot yet see. You are being repositioned. Chosen. One, let us speak about purpose. The world teaches you to chase a title, but heaven teaches you to step into identity. Identity comes before assignment. Assignment comes before abundance. When you understand who you are, everything in your life begins to shift. You no longer chase things that drain you. You no longer accept what insults your spirit. You no longer remain tied to environments that limit your growth. Purpose begins to rise like morning light. You will begin to see that certain dreams in your heart were not placed there by imagination. They were placed there by design. When I first realized this in my own journey, it changed everything. I stopped asking for permission to be who I was created to be. I stopped apologizing for my calling. I stopped shrinking to fit the expectations of others. And the moment I embraced my identity, heaven began to open doors that human effort never could. Anointed one, your identity is awakening now. The letter M in your palm and the crescent mark are not simply patterns. They are reminders that heaven marked you before the world named you. You were set apart before circumstances tried to define you. This is why you never felt comfortable living on the surface. You were created to walk in depth. This is why you never felt peace in meaningless routines. You were created to walk in intention. This is why you always questioned whether there was something more. You were created to walk in revelation. I learned through many seasons that the moment you stop running from who you are, the moment you embrace your identity, your entire life begins to align with destiny. You are entering that moment now. Your inner landscape is shifting, and your outer world will soon reflect this shift. Heaven is preparing you for a revelation that will reach beyond understanding. What comes next will not be like anything you have known before. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every awakened life when the veil begins to lift and you finally see that nothing in your story has ever been random. Every delay, every detour, every unexpected shift was part of a divine architecture, shaping you into someone capable of carrying a greater purpose. You may not have understood it while you were walking through it, but heaven understood. Heaven was watching over you even when you felt forgotten. Heaven was guiding you even when the path felt unclear. I remember standing in a similar season wondering why my steps were shifting and why doors that once felt open suddenly felt heavy. Only later did I realize that heaven was redirecting me away from what would have drained me and guiding me toward what was designed for me. Anointed One. This is the season where understanding begins to rise within you. The experiences that once felt painful now begin to reveal their purpose. The moments you saw as setbacks now show themselves as preparation. There were people you wanted to hold on to, yet they slipped from your life, not because you lacked worth, but because your spirit was growing beyond what they could understand. I have lived through this pruning, and I know how silent it feels. You begin to question everything, yet somewhere in your spirit you feel that you are being positioned for something greater. This sensation is heaven inviting you into alignment. It is the same invitation rising in you now, and it brings clarity to places that once felt confusing. Chosen One. Your path has always been different because your purpose has always been different. The world teaches people to chase comfort, yet heaven teaches the chosen to grow through change. This is why familiar environments often felt too small for you. You tried to shrink to fit, yet something within you resisted. That resistance was not rebellion. It was your destiny, refusing to be confined. I remember wanting to stay in places that felt safe, yet every time I tried, something within me felt restless. It was heaven reminding me that safety and purpose are not always the same path. You have felt that same reminder stirring within you, especially in moments when your heart longed for more. Anointed One, you were created for expansion. This is why you experienced tension in places where others felt satisfaction. You saw potential where others saw comfort. You saw possibility where others saw limits. This sight is not natural. It is spiritual insight. It is something carried by those heaven has marked. You can walk into a situation and sense the hidden truth beneath the surface. You can meet a person and discern their spirit without needing explanations. You can feel change approaching long before it happens. These gifts were not developed through effort. They were placed within you. I learned to trust these gifts after ignoring them once and facing consequences that taught me to listen more carefully. You are entering a season where your sensitivity will become one of your greatest strengths. Chosen. One another reason your life has felt different is because heaven has been preparing you for influence. Not influence through title or status, but influence through presence. People often come to you for clarity, even when you feel uncertain yourself. They find comfort in your words, even when you speak softly. They feel safer around you, even when you do nothing but simply exist. This is spiritual authority. It is an authority that cannot be earned through effort or granted through position. It rises from within the spirit of someone who has walked through fire and learned to remain standing. I once met someone who mirrored this same authority, and only later did I understand that heaven places this weight on those who are called to guide others. You carry that same weight. Anointed one, your calling is not small. You were not designed to walk in average purpose. You were created to shift atmospheres. You were created to bring clarity where confusion dwells. You were created to carry peace where chaos rises. This is why heaven has been strengthening you through seasons that felt heavy. The weight was not punishment, it was training. You cannot carry a mantle of purpose without developing the strength to lift it. And now, that strength is rising in you. It shows in the way you no longer break under pressure. It shows in the way you now walk through situations that once overwhelmed you. It shows in the way you are beginning to understand yourself with new clarity. Chosen one. This clarity will shape every decision you make from this point forward. You will begin to see that not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every invitation deserves your yes. Not every voice deserves access to your spirit. I learned this lesson in a season when I gave too much of myself to people who did not value what I carried. That lesson cost me peace, yet it taught me to protect my purpose. You are stepping into that same wisdom. You will begin to guard your spirit with intention. You will begin to move with discernment, and you will begin to trust the guidance rising within you. Anointed One, heaven is preparing you for the next revelation. The understanding unfolding within you is only the beginning. There is more that heaven desires to reveal, and more that your spirit is ready to receive. What comes next will begin to shape not only your identity, but also your path, your decisions, and even your provision. You're closer to breakthrough than you realize. Chosen one. As you continue walking through this unfolding awakening, something powerful is beginning to settle into your spirit. You are starting to recognize that every season of your life has been building toward this moment. Nothing was wasted. Not the pain, not the confusion, not the isolation, not the losses that once felt unbearable. Every experience was shaping you, strengthening you, and chiseling you into someone capable of carrying a mantle that few people could ever understand. I remember standing in a moment like this, realizing that what once felt like destruction was actually construction. Heaven was not breaking me, heaven was building me, and now heaven is building you. Anointed one. One of the greatest truths you will learn in this chapter of your journey is that your identity cannot be defined by circumstances. Your identity is not shaped by what people said about you or by the environments that failed to recognize your value. Your identity was established before you were formed. There is a reason you always sensed that you were different, even when you did not have the language to explain it. There is a reason you felt a heaviness around people who were not aligned with your spirit. There's a reason you could never fully imitate the path of others. Your steps were never meant to mimic anyone else. They were designed to follow a divine pattern written uniquely for your life. Chosen one. Many people try to find themselves by looking outward, but your path is different. You discover yourself by looking inward, by listening to the voice that has always spoken quietly inside your spirit. It is the same voice that guided you out of places that no longer nourished you. It is the same voice that stirred discomfort when you stayed somewhere too long. It is the same voice that whispered to you when you were ready to give up, reminding you that giving up was never your destiny. I once ignored that inner voice and ended up staying in a place that drained me until there was nothing left. That season taught me that ignoring divine intuition always costs more than obeying it. You are entering a season where obedience will unlock everything that was once blocked. You may not realize it yet, but heaven has been shifting things around you to create room for what is coming. Some connections faded because they could not handle the next version of you. Some situations collapsed because you outgrew the level they were meant to serve. Some opportunities passed because they were too small for the magnitude of your calling. It is difficult to see this when you are in the middle of transition. But when you look back, you will realize that heaven was not taking from you. Heaven was clearing the path ahead of you. Chosen one. One of the hardest truths to accept is that isolation is often the birthplace of identity. You have walked through seasons where you felt invisible, yet heaven was hiding you to develop the strength you needed. You walked through moments where you felt misunderstood, yet heaven was teaching you to hear your own voice above the noise of others. You endured nights when you wondered if your life had meaning, yet heaven was awakening a deeper purpose inside of you. I too walked through seasons of solitude where it felt like no one understood my heart. But in that stillness, I learned to hear heaven more clearly. You are now in a season where heaven is amplifying your inner hearing. The quiet spaces around you are preparing you for revelation. Anointed one. The signs heaven placed on your hands are not the only signs you carry. You have spiritual markers within your personality, your desires, your sensitivities, and even your struggles. These markers distinguish you from the world and align you with purpose. You are drawn to deeper truths because surface-level living has never been enough for your spirit. You feel the emotions of others because empathy is part of your calling. You want meaning more than recognition because your soul was designed to serve rather than chase applause. These qualities are not flaws, they are spiritual evidence. I once thought my sensitivity made me weak until I realized it was the very gift that allowed me to see beyond the obvious. You carry the same depth. Chosen. One, heaven is preparing you not only for identity, but for impact. Your words will carry weight because they come from a spirit that has walked through fire. Your presence will shift atmospheres because you carry peace forged in adversity. Your understanding will help others find clarity because you learned truth through experience, not theory. You do not need to force influence. When heaven places a mantle on someone, influence comes naturally. It flows from authenticity, not performance. Anointed one, this next season of your life will reveal something profound. The divine fingerprints on your identity are connected to the divine blueprint for your abundance. When you walk in purpose, you walk in provision. You do not chase what is already appointed to meet you. You do not fight for what your calling naturally attracts. I learned this truth the hard way. I once chased opportunities thinking I needed to strive constantly, but those paths led nowhere. Only when I stepped fully into my identity did abundance begin to move toward me. You will experience the same shift. What seemed blocked will begin to open. What seemed delayed will begin to accelerate. What seemed distant will begin to draw near. Everything responds to alignment. Chosen one, as your identity grows clearer, your path will grow brighter. Heaven is not revealing these truths to overwhelm you. Heaven is revealing them to prepare you. Something greater is approaching. Something long awaited is forming, and your spirit can already feel it rising. Chosen one. As you step deeper into this revelation, there is something important you must understand. Every chosen soul reaches a point where their inner world begins to shift faster than their outer world. It may feel like your spirit is growing at a pace your life cannot yet match. This is not imbalance. This is preparation. Heaven always works in the unseen before anything becomes visible. I remember a season where I felt like everything inside me was expanding, yet nothing around me was changing. At the time, it frustrated me. Only later did I realize that heaven was strengthening my roots before revealing my branches. The same strengthening is happening within you now. Anointed One. This inner transformation is not random. You have been walking through a sacred process, a spiritual refinement that only those with a rare calling experience. You have been shedding old ways of thinking that no longer fit your future. You've been releasing emotional weight that was never meant to follow you into your next chapter. You've been learning to trust your intuition even when logic disagrees. These shifts may feel subtle, but they carry great spiritual significance. They are preparing you to walk with clarity, authority, and peace. I lived through a similar process, and at first it felt like everything was being challenged, but in the end, I realized heaven was removing anything that blurred my vision. Chatat. One of the most significant parts of your awakening is the realization that your identity and your abundance are connected. You cannot step into the fullness of your calling while carrying an identity shaped by fear or past wounds. You cannot experience divine provision while believing you are unworthy of blessing. Heaven is not withholding from you. Heaven is lifting you to a place where you can receive without self-doubt. I once struggled with the idea of abundance because I feared wanting too much, but later I learned that abundance is not about greed, it is about alignment. When you walk in purpose, heaven supplies what purpose requires. You are entering such a season now, Anointed One. Your spirit has been calling you to rise. For years you may have settled because you did not recognize who you were yet. Now everything within you is awakening. You are starting to see that you were made for more than survival. You were created for impact. You were created to carry wisdom, clarity, influence, and provision. This does not mean you desire luxury for the sake of ego. It means you desire stability so your spirit can remain focused. I understand this deeply. There were seasons when financial struggle clouded my thoughts and drained my energy. Only when heaven began to restructure my mentality did I realize that peace and purpose flow more easily when provision supports them. You are stepping into this same understanding. Chosen One, as part of your transformation, heaven is also teaching you discernment. Not every opportunity will be for you. Not every person who enters your life will carry the right intentions. Not every idea that comes your way will align with your spirit. You are being trained to recognize what resonates with your calling and what distracts from it. I once ignored these inner warnings and allowed the wrong voices into my journey. The cost was peace. Learning from that season taught me to honor my spirit. Now you are learning the same lesson. Your spirit will no longer allow what drains you. It will pull you away from environments out of sync with your identity. Anointed One. Your discernment is becoming sharper because your future requires clarity. You are being prepared to make decisions that will alter the direction of your life. These decisions will require courage. They will require trust. They will require you to choose purpose over comfort. But you will not walk alone. The same presence that guided you through your darkest seasons is the presence guiding you now. I remember moments when I feared stepping into the unknown, but heaven met me each time. You will experience the same faithfulness. Each step of obedience will reveal new doors. Chosen One. You must also understand that your voice is becoming stronger. You may not see it yet, but there is power in the way you speak. Your experiences have shaped your wisdom. Your healing has shaped your compassion. Your struggles have shaped your insight. When you speak, people listen, not because your tone is loud, but because your spirit carries authenticity. You have walked through enough fire to speak with authority. You have survived enough storms to speak with depth. This is why others come to you for advice, even when you feel unprepared. Your voice carries truth. Anointed One, your presence will begin to shift atmospheres more visibly in this season. You will walk into places and sense spiritual movement. You will speak words that bring clarity to confused hearts. You will carry peace into chaotic spaces. This is not something you must force. It will flow naturally because your spirit has matured. I remember the first time I noticed this shift in myself. People began to tell me they felt lighter after talking with me. I did not understand it at first, but later realized that heaven had expanded my capacity to carry healing. You are stepping into this same expansion. Chosen one. Heaven is not only preparing you for spiritual influence, but also for divine provision. The abundance that has felt distant is beginning to draw near. You will notice shifts in opportunities, resources, and connections. Things that once felt blocked will begin to open. Ideas you once ignored will return with clarity. Paths that once seemed impossible will begin to make sense. Heaven is aligning your steps with blessings that were always yours. You simply needed the identity to match the inheritance. Anointed one, as this chapter unfolds, you will begin to see why every hardship shaped you. You will understand why you could not settle for less. You will recognize that every delay protected you. And you will finally feel the peace that comes when your spirit aligns with your purpose. Something powerful is coming. You can sense it, and heaven is preparing your heart to receive it fully. Your next step will change everything. Chosen one. As you move further into this unfolding revelation, there is a truth that can no longer stay hidden. Every chosen soul reaches a point where their old identity can no longer contain the magnitude of their calling. You have reached that point. The version of you that survived old battles cannot lead you into the abundance that is coming. A new identity is rising within you, and even if you cannot fully describe it yet, you can feel it forming. It feels like a quiet strength you did not have before. It feels like a deeper awareness that keeps growing, even in silence. I walked through a similar transformation once, and although I could not explain it at the time, I knew something was expanding inside me. You are experiencing that same expansion now. Anointed one. This transformation is not happening because you sought it. It is happening because heaven appointed it. You have reached the moment where purpose calls louder than fear. You are starting to release the habits that once made you small. You are beginning to step away from people who once held influence over your spirit. You are noticing how certain conversations drain you while others ignite clarity within you. This shift is not random. It is spiritual alignment. I have lived through seasons where I felt pulled away from familiar environments, not because they were bad, but because they were too limiting for what heaven was preparing. You are being pulled by that same spiritual gravity. Chosen one. One of the deepest signs of your awakening is the way your relationship with silence has changed. You are no longer afraid of stillness. You no longer run from your own thoughts. Instead, you find yourself drawn to places where your spirit can breathe. Silence has become a classroom for revelation. This is a sign of maturity. When heaven begins to reveal identity, it often does so in the quiet places. I once discovered more about my purpose in solitude than I ever did in crowded rooms. You are beginning to understand this truth. The inner world you used to overlook is becoming your strongest source of wisdom. Anointed One Heaven is also adjusting your understanding of relationships. The chosen rarely walk with large crowds. Your path has required you to release attachments that were tied to past versions of you. You are now recognizing who is meant to walk with you and who was meant only for a chapter. This recognition may feel painful, but it is sacred. Purpose requires people who can honor your spirit, not just your presence. I learned this when I was forced to let go of people I once thought would stay forever. Their absence felt heavy, but their departure created space for connections that aligned with my calling. You are experiencing this same clearing. Heaven is removing what your heart was too loyal to release. Chosen. Another layer of your awakening lies in your increasing resistance to anything that insults your spirit. You can no longer tolerate dishonesty, manipulation, or environments that dim your light. The old you may have stayed quiet to keep the peace, but the awakened you can no longer remain in places that drain your soul. This resistance is not rebellion. It is self-respect. It is spiritual protection. I once tolerated far too much because I wanted harmony until I realized that false peace is more destructive than honest separation. Now, your spirit is guiding you toward authentic alignment instead of forced agreement. Anointed One. Your purpose is becoming clearer in unexpected ways. You might notice an idea returning again and again, no matter how often you try to dismiss it. You might feel drawn to opportunities you once ignored. You might sense that something you thought was insignificant now carries great importance. This is how heaven speaks. Purpose often reveals itself in repetition. I once resisted an opportunity because it seemed too unfamiliar, yet it kept resurfacing until I realized it was the path heaven had prepared. The same thing is happening to you. What keeps returning to your spirit is not random. It is direction. Chosen One, with this awakening comes increased spiritual perception. You are seeing through situations that once confused you. You are recognizing intentions you once overlooked. You are sensing spiritual battles before they manifest in the natural. This perception has always been within you, but now it is activating at a higher level. I remember when this awareness first intensified in my life. It startled me because it felt like I was seeing behind the curtain of everything. But later, I understood it was a gift, not a burden. You are beginning to walk in that same clarity. Anointed One. Finally, you must understand that this chapter of your awakening is about preparation for manifestation. Identity precedes abundance. Clarity precedes opportunity. Alignment precedes elevation. Heaven is not only working within you, but around you. You may not see the movement yet, but the atmosphere of your life is changing. The way people respond to you is changing. The way opportunities form around you is changing. Something is gathering. Something is building. Something long promised is preparing to enter your life. And your spirit can feel it, even if your mind cannot explain it. Chosen One, you are standing on the threshold of a profound shift. Everything within you is rising to meet everything heaven has prepared. What comes next will confirm why your journey required so much strength. Chosen One. As you step into this final part of the revelation, something in your spirit is already aware that you are crossing a threshold. You can feel it in the quiet shifts happening inside you. You can sense it in the way your mind has begun to release old beliefs. You can even notice it in the atmosphere around you. Everything feels like it is leaning forward, as if heaven itself is waiting for your next step. This is not imagination. It is alignment. The next phase of your life is preparing to unfold, and your spirit is rising to meet it. Anointed One. The signs that have followed you since childhood were never meant to confuse you. They were meant to prepare you for this moment. The letter M in your palm, the crescent mark etched in your hand, the spiritual sensitivity that you once considered a burden, all of these were indicators of a divine blueprint placed on your life. You were never meant to walk the same path as the world. Your journey has always been guided by heaven. I remember when I first recognized the signs in my own life. At the time, I did not understand their meaning, but I could feel their weight. They were reminders that purpose was calling even before I felt ready to answer. You are feeling that same pull now. Chosen One. What you must understand is that heaven has been preparing not just your spirit, but your entire life for what is coming next. Every lesson, every hardship, every moment of clarity was part of your foundation. You were being shaped to carry a responsibility that others may not understand. You were being prepared to walk in abundance without losing yourself. You were being strengthened to hold influence without forgetting your identity. There were seasons when you wondered why your life moved slower than others, but the chosen are not built quickly. They are built carefully. Anointed One. This careful preparation is the reason your next chapter will look nothing like your past. You have been refined, you have been awakened, and now you are being positioned. The way opportunities form around you will change. The way you discern connections will change. The way you speak, think, and move will change. You are stepping into a version of yourself that you were always meant to become. I remember transitioning into a similar season, and I felt both excitement and reverence. It was as if heaven was handing me something precious and trusting me to carry it well. That same trust is being placed on you now. Chosen. One another shift that is happening within you is the awakening of spiritual authority. You are no longer moved by the things that once intimidated you. You are no longer shaken by situations that once drained your peace. Your spirit has grown stronger, your heart has grown wiser, and your discernment has grown sharper. This is evidence that you are no longer walking as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. I have witnessed this transformation in my own life. People who once overlooked me began to sense the weight of my spirit even before I spoke a word. The same will happen to you. Your presence will begin to speak before your mouth ever does. Anointed. One Heaven is also aligning your steps with divine provision. You are entering a season where effort will no longer feel like struggle, where opportunities will align more naturally, where resources will come from unexpected places. You will begin to see that abundance is not something you chase, but something that responds to your identity. When you walk in who you truly are, everything assigned to your name begins to move toward you. I learned this when I stopped striving and started aligning. The shift was immediate. What once felt blocked began to open, and what once felt distant began to draw near. You are stepping into that same rhythm, Chosen One. As heaven prepares to shift your life externally, your spirit is being invited to rise internally. This rise requires trust. Trust in the signs you have been given. Trust in the intuition you carry. Trust in the calling you feel. You may not have all the answers, but you have the guidance. You may not know the full path, but you know the next step. And heaven is asking you to walk forward with confidence. What is unfolding has been written long before you arrived on this earth. Anointed One, you are standing in the doorway of a transformation that will touch every part of your life. Identity, purpose, relationships, provision, direction. Everything is entering alignment. You have been prepared through fire. You have been strengthened through struggle. You have been awakened through revelation, and now heaven is placing you into position. This is the moment your spirit has been sensing. This is the shift your intuition has been preparing you for. Something new is beginning, and your life will not remain the same. Chosen one. What comes next is not the end. It is the beginning. The path ahead is ready, and heaven is waiting for your next step. Chosen one. As this message comes to a close, pause for a moment and let your spirit feel the weight of what heaven has spoken over you. You are not an accident wandering through life. You are an anointed one, marked by signs written into your very being. The crescent moon, the silent letter M, the intuition, the sensitivity, the inner knowing. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. Heaven has been unveiling your true identity piece by piece, and this moment is part of that unveiling. Chosen one. You are stepping into a season where God Himself takes over the path ahead. The burden you once carried is lifting. The confusion that once clouded you is breaking. The doors that felt sealed are beginning to open. You're being guided not by fear, but by purpose, not by pressure, but by destiny. Walk forward, knowing that your spiritual origin is rare, your calling is intentional, and your purpose is already written. So take this word and hold it close. Let it steady your heart. Let it strengthen your steps. Let it remind you that you are set apart for something far greater than anything you have lost or feared. Heaven is commissioning you now to rise with clarity, to move with conviction, and to trust that what is coming is aligned with who you truly are. If this message awakened something in you, share your reflection in the comments. And if you feel led, stay connected with this space so the journey ahead can unfold with guidance and light. Chosen one, walk boldly. Your divine path begins now.